I remember a conversation we had with some radio stations was that they haven't got someone in-house that's a specialist in K-pop.
I don't think you need
I don't think you need a specialist in K-pop. I think you just need someone that's aware of what's happening on Spotify.
Hi, welcome to
TTK. We bring you another conversational piece that is
inspired by The Guardian. Somebody tweeted me an article and said, what do you think? And rather than reply in text format on Twitter,
that would have been easier.
Just going to talk about it because we've actually touched on the subject before and I feel like thoughts evolve.
Today we're talking about the reception of K-pop and non-English speaking music songs in the music industry within the UK, specifically the charts.
The article asked why, after Despacito, there wasn't more non-English songs at the top of the charts. And I thought, wow, that's interesting. And I read the article and I have some thoughts. I'll try and sort of break down the article for you as we go along.
One thing to consider in the UK is if you mention non-English speaking songs or films, what you'll hear is Despacito. Apparently, we only permit one breakout song in a different language to really rake in the views and to chart in the UK. I want to kind of discuss why that is and also why perhaps people see Blackpink, BTS and other K-pop groups as this alien other that only have fanatic fans that couldn't possibly be successful because of their musicality.
I really liked the article because it actually took I felt it took quite a broad look rather than do just the generic brushstroke of it's because no one knows the language. The journalist really dug into, I think, a new angle that we hadn't really considered. Well, we had touched on briefly when we spoke about the Brits. They were saying, Despacito, surely that should have ushered in, it was a glass ceiling breaking moment. It should have ushered in more
Latin music.
Yeah, Latin music or songs not sung in the English tongue, which is the dominant language in the UK. And then they go on to explain why, it's very easy to say, oh, us Brits are xenophobic or they never learn another language, which is also true. I don't know another language. I know a little bit of French, but we're not brought up to speak another language. And then they go on to say, actually, that's too broad a generalisation. Sure, Brexit did show a few cracks in the system, but actually, if you look more closely at the music industry, BAME representation or minority ethnic representation is very low. I think it was something like 18%. So they actually don't know how to promote these artists because they are
not used to doing it.
They're just a bunch of white people.
This is kind of my personal view, but it also extends to if you look at the marketing teams and the people on the boards of these big music companies, generally are white, generally are men, generally are a little bit older. So in the UK, I think our language education system really needs an overhaul because some schools learn Spanish, some learn German, some learn French, and we don't have it's not like, oh, everyone in the UK is trying to learn French because it's their closest neighbour. We don't have that. I don't think the point of this is to say that it's actually because we don't learn languages.
No, it's not at all. That is not my point.
People's curiosities and stuff extend beyond what they're taught at school and what they're encouraged to do. So I think my personal opinion is that I think we need more of what we see on stage to be reflected in the people making the decisions about who do we sign, who do we promote, who is our next single from, who is this next collaboration with, who do we put on the Brits to perform. Pop and pop. K-pop is part of pop. It's also an industry.
There used to be an urban category, which actually turned out to just be a lumping of any music made by black artists, if it didn't fall into R&B. And so everything outside that, so things like grime, as an example, would fall under urban. And so that was kind of like, you're in this box because you can't break into this box. And so I found that really interesting. And then if you apply it to things like K-pop, as an example, Korean pop music, K-pop is an industry, it's not a genre. And so it's weird to me to have a category that is only K-pop artists, because that'd be like having a Brit. Why does MTV not have a Britpop category? Britpop has been established far longer than K-pop.
I thought we'd reach a point in 2020 where K-pop was so successful that media companies couldn't really ignore it, or labels couldn't really, or the people putting these award shows on in Western countries couldn't really ignore it any longer and just sort of amalgamate it into their offering. But actually, what's going to happen is it's going to be unavoidable, it's going to top the charts and continue to top the charts, so that radios just have to adapt. I remember a conversation we had with some radio stations was that they haven't got someone in-house that's a specialist in K-pop.
I don't think you need
think you need a specialist in K-pop. I think you just need someone that's aware of what's happening on Spotify. And I think this is the problem. Don't understand it and they don't understand the language. They're like, okay, let's just pretend it's not happening. Let's just shut our eyes. But actually, in reality, what's going to happen is it's just going to get so massive they can't avoid it.
On that note, you'll be aware of the 2018 review of Love Yourself Tear by The Guardian that sort of essentially, I'm paraphrasing here, but said that if boy band fandom is all about projecting your fantasies onto the performers, then perhaps a group whose lyrics you don't understand represent an appealingly blank screen. And so, obviously everyone was annoyed. It actually goes on to say fans were incensed. Brazilian journalist Bijou Belinki responded in her Vice column saying that
we love Vice.
Yeah, Vice, power to it. The reason for the lack of chart success for non-English language songs is due to the monopoly of English language and culture. People are used to being catered to, so they mock non-English pop. Because as long as you make fun of it, you don't have to accept that there's more to the world. And actually, I think the mocking part extends actually less to mocking and more to categorizing. K-pop. It's like you can have a
It's like
kind of seat at the table, but you're not at the table, you're just looking from the outside.
I think it's really interesting when we've done our street interviews, which post-COVID we will be doing again. When we interviewed a metalhead in Carnaby Street, he said he loved Twice. And I was taken back by that because I think it's really interesting. If you were to sit someone down that probably rags on K-pop, but probably hasn't listened to it, when kids like K-pop, their parents will like K-pop if their parents are often enjoying pop music, and that is because it doesn't matter about the language, it doesn't matter where it's from, it's because it's got the vibe and the tonality that they enjoy, and I think that's what we're going to start seeing.
The inaccessibility of it is a myth, it's like a mirage. A music industry dominated by white British men tend to champion artists that tell stories about their lives. This person singing a song that I can relate to, you feel like you have a level of relatability and expertise in selling that song, and so therefore when you see a lot of bunch of white male artists succeeding heavily in the UK, it's more to do with the fact that the people pushing these artists, people working in these industries, are predominantly white male. The lack of diversity and inclusivity makes artists that aren't white male seem exotic and inaccessible, and that is what we run up against all the time when we talk about K-pop to radio stations, media companies, or whenever we're just talking about K-pop. It's like, well, first of all, that's so exotic and different. You're like, well, it's like pop music.
So weird. Tell me about it. That's so weird. And it's like, why is it weird? Because I found this music on the same platform I found every piece of music that I enjoy. I was thinking then actually, like BTS back in the early days, using BTS as an example, used to make more music that was more culturally relevant to youths growing up in South Korea, where it was about talking about hardships at school life and things like that. Whereas now, talking about trends that are more universally accessible to a larger audience around the world.
And not even just young people.
Not young people, just people.
We speak to plenty of parents that see relatability in their songs once they've looked up the lyrics, and also to assume that language is a barrier is also assuming that people are too stupid to use Google to work out the meanings of a song. I don't listen to K-pop in the same way that I listen to a relaxing bossa nova playlist. I do listen to a bossa nova playlist to be transported to a warm Spanish bar as the sun is setting with a tequila in hand.
You've never done that?
No, but I feel like I would. I don't listen to K-pop to be transported elsewhere. I listen to K-pop because it's current pop music.
I keep listening to K-pop during my workouts at the moment. I keep listening to Burn It Up, 2018 vibes from 101.
Tower of God by Stray Kids is my current go-to.
Right. Burn it. My key point, and one thing I've noticed for a long time, as you guys have, is that we're moving away from relying on these traditional methods of success. We've got BTS and Blackpink and GOT7 and Monster X and Super M coming to the UK selling out their shows without any radio play because they're not relying on radio play. Cool, it's great for the charts. They're seeing success, they're seeing the coin, they don't need radio play. It's a nice thing, it's a nice badge on your lapel, is that the same?
I feel like there was a point in the article that said that actually virality on TikTok or going huge on Instagram is more important to a younger generation now than getting a number one on the charts. Obviously, BTS, obviously they all deserve number one on the charts, but they might not get it. But they are exploding on Spotify. They're doing so well, they outstream lots of artists that we see regularly. Like, I listen to Sigrid, who is more prevalent on British radio, despite the fact she has less streams and less hits than equivalent K-pop acts. So please do let us know your thoughts in the comments. This was like a blaze through this article. If you read it, let me know what you think. Yeah. I will write in the description all the details to the article. You can go check it out.
And leave some nice supportive comments because the author got it. If you're new here, please make sure you press subscribe and the bell notification button next to it so you can stay up to date on how we're navigating this new normal of not being able to go to concerts and also go onto the street and interview people.
My brain is melting. It's so hot.
I'm gonna go and sit in front of the freezer.
I just froze a banana. I'm gonna get a frozen banana.
You put it in there literally moments ago. It is not really frozen yet.
Thank you for watching. Goodbye.